A lot of big news coming on this tumultuous, terrific Thursday. Hi, Newswire. Trump and Elon Musk are reuniting, agree to use Grok in government AI revolution. We've been asking for that. It's happening. Hallelujah. It took Charlie Kirk's unfortunate political assassination, but as they say, a lot of good, get the equipment out of the way, a lot of the good things that can come out of the extreme tragedy of Charlie Kirk's political assassination was Trump and Elon Musk having a good conversation there at the memorial service. And now we get the announcement that Trump and Musk back together to reunite to use Grok in a government AI revolution. The other big breaking story of the day, and that just broke about an hour ago, former FBI director, the odious, ABC News didn't quite get it right, the odious James Comey indicted days after Trump demanded DOJ move now to prosecute enemies. Well, the statute of limitations, as I understand it, was going to run out on the perjury charge, at least at Congress, which they seem to have him dead at rights on a little over almost 5 years ago with the Ted Cruz questioning and so forth. So they had to file it here within the next few days, or it was null and void. He could have beat it on, statute of limitations. So hopefully this is just the first part of this. We shall see. Here is the Fox News report.
Welcome back. Breaking right now. Tonight, a major update to a story we brought to you earlier in the hour. A grand jury has just handed down an indictment for former FBI Director James Comey. The Justice Department accuses Comey of lying to Congress while under oath back in 2020. Let's bring in David Spunt with all the breaking details. David, what can you tell us?
Well, Jillian, we are waiting to get the actual details of the indictment. We're just told that an indictment has been handed up against the former FBI director, James Comey. So I don't want to speculate on the actual charges yet until I see the paper in hand. That's the only responsible thing to do. But we know that James Comey, the former FBI director, has been indicted. We're waiting to see if there's any sort of comment from the Justice Department.
The part about lying to Congress, while serious, is probably the least of the violations James Comey has. Basically using the U.S. government, the FBI, law enforcement, to affect an election. You don't get much higher up the illegal food chain in trying to do a regime change than that, but we shall see. We'll see how the Justice Department moves forward with this and many other cases going on. Harmeet Dillon, the Deputy Department of Justice Attorney General, just filed cases and have sued 6 states for refusing to provide their voter rolls, including, of course, California, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania. They're desperately trying to cover up fraud, according to Nick Sorter, but Harmeet's going full court press on them, expose them all. And we say, yes, indeedy. Let's get after it. Harmeet got good credentials out here. She's been on election law out here in California, fighting the good fight, and on COVID, and on boys and girls sports. Dillon Law Group, we've had Mark Mosier who still works for them and is suing on the no on 50, or Gavin Newsom's absolutely 100% totalitarian political power grab in trying to gerrymander the districts in his and the Democrats' favor. Government incompetence. It showed its face none bigger than the fires in LA. We just had the report come out, General Stanley McChrystal, and maybe we'll get more into the details a little bit later on. It was basic government incompetence all the way around. Why the Pacific Palisades, the Altadena fires got severely out of control, and the loss of life and everything else. Will we learn our lesson finally on this? Who knows? We'll have some more updates on this later on in the show. Acting U.S. Attorney for the California Central and Southern California District, Bill Asaley, puts up here, we are pleased to announce our initial results of Operation Guardian Angel, our program to remove criminal illegal aliens from California jails. Since its launch in May, our task force, led by the Los Angeles Bureau, has removed 73 criminal illegal aliens from local jails. The program is expanding rapidly, and we expect the numbers to grow. There can be no sanctuary from federal law enforcement. Just like with the mask, some stupid mask rule that's going to blow right in his face. Of course, they had a press conference today on the Dallas shooter that was targeting ICE agents. Unfortunately, one illegal alien and two others one illegal alien lost his life. Two others were wounded in the shooter's random spree. Here's a short, we'll get more into these details too later on in the hour, but here's the initial press conference. Acting U.S. Attorney Nancy Larson gives us an opening update.
He also hoped his actions would give ICE agents real terror of being gunned down, and he did this to induce constant stress in their lives.
Just like Gavin Newsom has done, beating the drums of this, Churla, funding them for $34 million and all this, and they've been doing that with now their big deal is, inform that of the ICE agents and doxing and everything else. It's a crime beyond all crimes that should be going on. That should not be going on. Let me put it that way, get that route correctly. On top of that, security ramped up at an ICE facility in San Bernardino County after deadly Texas shooting. I believe that's in Adelanto. We'll have a report on that coming up. One more thing, yes, we'll have an update on this, and it can't come none too soon. The slow death of the self-checkout. The free market works. We will explain to you why for the 9,437th time. Charlie Kirk's accused assassin, Tyler Robinson, returned to the crime scene, encountered police. Sources are telling Fox News. Follow up on that story here in a bit. Gavin Newsom runs this game of, I fear we will not have an election in 2028. Well, if you're afraid they're not going to have an election, clown, then why are you running for president? If Trump's just going to install himself, why are you wasting your time? We've come to expect it. He gets away with it because the ladies think he's so dreamy. And they vote for him because they have fantasies running around their head. And any of you ladies want to come in and dispute that? Even if you don't, you know your colleagues in the smarter population because they've told it to me 10 gazillion times. We'll have this, some local stuff, and more as we roll on with the rest of the hour on the best news show, not only in the Inland Empire, California, USA, but the world. Exactly. Lots of, well, hopefully positive developments coming out. The Comey indictment, hopefully that's just the first salvo in the government gangsters getting indicted. And that is just the charges they had to get in because statute of limitations was running out at the 30th of September, which is what, 5 days away. So they either had to file that charge or lose it, which they filed. So he's on record. Now he's booked. Now he's in the criminal justice system. So hopefully, again, this is the first one that's dropped. If that ex post by Trump pushed this along, thank goodness we have Donald Trump in there when ones like Pam Bondi are slacking. He's in there pushing the buttons saying, hey, there's all these criminals that have been running around doing all this stuff. We've been yakking about it. And this is the thing. And Republicans, especially Republican center right, however you want to say it, always talk a good game, make a bunch of promises in this and never deliver, or hardly ever deliver. Until Donald J. Now that he's in there and he's going, hey, I'm not running for re-election. Despite what Gavin Newsom says, I'm not suspending the election or anything like that. Even though Steve Bannon was running around, I don't think he is anymore. Oh, Trump's going to run again and we're going to do it and we got this. Trump said, he egged that on, let's be honest, because that's Trump. Trump doing what Trump does. So hopefully, like I say, this is just the first domino that was pushed. And like you see with the first domino when it's pushed, the rest of them start going, no. And away we go. Great development coming on. Wasn't anticipating that yet today. But we got it. We'll take it. It's a sign we're moving in a positive direction. To get down in the dumps. Why? Or question, not necessarily don't, but okay, what's next? Should be, why aren't you doing? Okay, step one, what's next on the docket? We want to see, boom, we want to see one of these coming every day or two. Indictments handed down, the investigations are done. If Cash and Dan over there at FBI are not getting the job done, we need the torch on their asses too. If they don't have the evidence in, if the evidence is in and sitting on Bondi's desk, then we want the indictment. Get it to the grand jury, get it out, and let's do it. They had the grand jury indictment. And I get, lawyers are very meticulous and they have to be because the law, if you don't cross an I right or dot a T or, and I goofed that up, you dyslexia up that too. But if you don't get everything right, because the other side, Comey's lawyers are going to pick at everything on here. And I'm sure the deep state is going to have him some very, very top-notch legal talent to fight this. Because, again, as the domino falls again, or once that, if Comey starts turning state's evidence against these guys to bail his own ass out, then they know they're in a whole heap of trouble. So again, let's hope. And I think there's as good a chance as any because One thing about Mr. Trump is he has backbone. And he means what he says and says what he means. So again, this is some fabulous news. We've been waiting for this. Again, this cannot be, and this cannot be the only charge just on Comey. Comey should have 9,432. So we shall see how the good old ball bounces. As we say, this one was, again, absolutely fabulous. We had it on there. I cannot emphasize how happy I am that Trump and Elon are getting back on the same page. This first one with the AI announcement that they're going to work together on AI with the Elon's Grok team leading the way and for an AI revolution in that. So I don't know if that's just for the US federal government or they're doing that, but we'll get more details on that. Probably, hopefully, we'll have them tomorrow. That's just another one that broke. A lot of breaking news, which it is on Thursday. Thursdays are usually your biggest news day by leaps and bounds. Government incompetence. We don't have to explain too much on that. I don't know if there's a soul yet walking on the planet Earth that has not discovered government incompetence. General Stanley McChrystal just released the report on the LA fires, why it is, and that sums it up. Government incompetence all the way around. Now, whether it wasn't specifically the cops, they said the cops weren't funded. The fire department wasn't prepared. The city wasn't prepared. There was no water, yada, yada, yada. Had Pacific Palisades burned, Altadena burned, some of the worst fires in human recorded history. Here's KTLA 5 report. Here we go.
Destructive January wildfires finds a series of weaknesses may have delayed LA County's response. Thanks for joining us for the KTLA 5 News at Noon. I'm Glenn Walker.
And I'm Lou Parker. The findings are part of the first after-action report on those wildfires.
And the review evaluated the county's efforts to warn and evacuate residents as the Eden and Palisades fires broke out. KTLA 5's Corrine Winter live now in downtown LA with details on the findings. Corrine?
Glenn, that was really the focus of this report, to evaluate the county's response to those evacuation orders and alerts. Board of Supervisors say this was all about ensuring transparency for the public.
When I read the report, there was no one thing that can be pointed to that completely failed. It was a systemic failure across the board. But having said that,
you really don't need to say much more. That was Catherine Barger, LA County Supervisor, and probably the only one up there with a lick of sense. The other four ladies up there, I wouldn't give you dimes to donuts for any of them. At least Catherine Barger, and I think her area, her supervisor district, I think, is most of that. And then a lot of the area in there, or some of the burn area, was actually in the unincorporated areas where she's at. Systemic failure. You know what's systemic? The definition of that? Go Amber Rochelle, who was on the show saying systemic racism and didn't know what the word systemic meant. Systemic means whole. It was mainly used, doctors use it a lot. Like, if you got systemic cancer, that means your body's basically your whole body's ate up with cancer. And you don't have much left time to be sitting on the top side of the grass. When she says systemic failure, that means everyone. Nobody was immune to that. That's what Stanley McChrystal nicely said. Catherine Barger actually said it the way it was. Let's get more on the KTLA 5 report.
There was a lot taken into consideration regarding how the fire was going. The fact that the winds were blowing a certain way, the calls coming in 911, no question about it. This is a once in a lifetime firestorm, but there are lessons learned.
Really? We keep repeating the same thing over and over again. Whether our towns are burning, whether there's vagrants with the encampments and in our shopping centers and on the streets, making life miserable for almost everybody. The road situation, the $5 gallon gas and everything else, and on and on and on and on and on. We'll get to the number one with Gavin Newsom and just about everything. This is where we are abject failure. No, we didn't. That's where Catherine Barger is wrong. We still haven't learned anything because we keep repeating these same mistakes over and over and over and over again, and we're always hoping for a different result. I mean, Crowley was fired. That was the only one. Canones getting $750,000 a year as the water queen of LA, and she hasn't been fired when there was no freaking water. The reservoir that was built in Pacific Palisades, mainly so if there was a fire, they would have water around there to put the darn thing out, was empty for almost a year. And everybody's sitting around in the government with their thumb up their rear ends, standing on the shovel, waiting for somebody to do it. And it only costs, like in governmentese, LA County or whoever, it was less than like $70,000 is all it took to fix the cover over that so the water didn't evaporate out as much. And they let it set through the whole fire season. They drained the lake in early 24. Let it sit there empty all the way till Pacific Palisades lit, and there we go. That's what you see the aftermath. This ish is unbelievable.
Now, this after-action analysis was completed by McChrystal Group. It offers a detailed look at the actions taken during those devastating wildfires and gives guidelines on how the county can respond to future catastrophes. This is the first after-action assessment by the county and state, and the review did not, as you heard with Supervisor Barger, did not identify a, quote, single point of failure in the county's actions to alert and evacuate residents, given all the fires that were burning at the same time across the region. The Board of Supervisors requested this review, which did pinpoint a series of weaknesses, including outdated policies, inconsistent practices, and communications vulnerabilities. As for possible improvements going forward,
like actually beefing up our emergency operations center. We live in a time now where we've got fires year round, but we're also going to have floods, mudslides.
We never had these before, Catherine. Come on. Call it like it is. You and your colleagues have fouled everything up. And I'm not just talking about the Board of Supervisors. Mayor Bass, Newsom, everyone. You were right. It's a systemic failure across the board. No, we need to beef this up. No, we need structural overhaul of practically every form of government. Schools, LA counties, cities, state, federal. Take a cue from Donald J. Don't talk around this stuff. Get something done. Hey, if the Attorney General isn't getting on the stick, Why aren't these guys getting indictment? Not behind closed doors. Trump asked it out front. We offer the world to see, put it on X. Or his True Social, and then he got on X. Hey, where's the frickin' indictments and all these criminals walking around here? Been screwing things up. Where are the indictments? Where are the investigations? Not just there's a complete waste of time. It's like the Riverside County reports, Judge Larson, and then whatever it was, $40 million for whatever group. That's just a delay. All this, I can tell you exactly what this is about. Tactic 101. Every tactic, they use these reports to delay. They knew they were in big trouble. Humongous trouble. They use these reports. Okay, well, we'll commission a report. So that'll stretch it out, another 6 months or so. And then everybody will be, at least, we'll have more time to do damage control and figure it out. And then we'll craft the report, and yeah, we'll admit to a few minor details that need to be fixed. And then hopefully by the time this all flushes out, everybody will be on to the next crisis or something else will happen, and they won't be focused on this, and then this will be out of our hair. That's what this whole exercise is about. This is what you need to frickin' demand of your government not to do. When you see this happening, say not no, but hell no. You're going to fix it right now. And we're going to talk about it right now. And we're going to discuss it right now. And we're not going to leave until we start getting solutions on the board so stuff like this doesn't happen. Or ICE agents are not fired upon. Or Charlie Kirk is not politically assassinated. And the list will go on. It's absolutely incriminating of what we see and what they try to pull off here. What they get to pull off. And what they have pulled the wool over our eyes, or most people's eyes. Like the COVID con. People need to go to freaking jail over that. And yes, I'm pounding on the desk. Because we can't play tiddlywinks with this stuff anymore. We can't think somebody else is going to do it, or we can't think sometimes they're talking nice about it until they want to, until the opposition wants to talk nice about it. If you want to be like Gavin Newsom inciting riots with the ICE thing, and we'll get to that here in a minute or two. Go on around inciting all this stuff and creating the chaos, create a crisis where one doesn't exist, and then walk in with a solution. Hegelism. It's from the 1570, I don't know, long time ago. Fritz Hegel was really the basis for communism. It was a blueprint for communism, dictator, socialist, which is another thing. If we start on that, which I'm glad, and I hope, and everybody's pretty much reserved to Madam Damney's going to win New York. Take New York down, and I'm going to agree with Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. When they asked for a bailout for the federal government, like Jerry Ford said, go pound sand. Now, as Ford said it nicer. Every time in recorded history to this day, socialism, communism, dictatorships have wound up in failure and wound up abusing 98.7% of the people that live under those regimes. And the only ones that benefit are the 1.3% oligarchs that control everything. It's just various forms of control over your life: socialism, dictator, communism, whatever you want to call it. But you're going to wind up, most of you
20 seconds, 20 seconds.
are going to wind up in a place where you don't want to be. As you heard Jesse say, we'll be joining the Money Vet KMET 1490, where we will get into more of these in depth into these stories in the next half hour of this jam-packed, tumultuous
2 seconds. Here we go.
This Thursday.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the aforementioned AM band. Showing your vast video audience to the Evil P Network, Rumble, X, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, do all that good stuff on that. Man, oh man, what a day. James, but just about an hour ago or so, it was announced. James Comey was indicted by the Federal Department of Justice. Look at that ABC headline. In a move now to prosecute enemies. Comey didn't lie. We got the Ted Cruz deal, and that's just the minor amount of the crimes this guy and many others have did. We got to get, just like Donald J. said, hey, Bondi, you're not getting, where's the indictments? Where's the prosecutions? Hopefully, and because the statute of limitations was run out in 5 days, so they had to file that here within the next, by September 30th, else that charge would have went poop. That's just a minor charge in my view, not that it isn't important, but just on Comey, that should be the first. I mean, we got Clapper, we got Strzok, we got Fauci, we got Nancy Pelosi, we got a whole list of them. Brennan. It's Bolton, and that's just starters. That's just warming up in the bullpen. The other great news coming out today, they're reunited, and it feels so good. We should have had the Peaches and Herbs song queued up. But Trump and Elon reunite and agree to use Grok in a government AI revolution. Again, as we said at the front of the show, it was unfortunate it took the political assassination of Charlie Kirk to get these two guys back together, but they are. You know, it's a shame we had to lose Charlie, but if anything good's coming out of it, this may be the first or one of the first salvos. Well, the first one is all the chapters now that are coming up in the colleges and high schools of Turning Point USA. This could be 1A. That Trump and Elon are starting to get, they're putting together their little 4-year-old boy kindergarten fight. They're getting back together just in time for the 26 midterms. We couldn't be happier over here. We've called for it for months now. Well, they shouldn't even have got into the TIF, but water under the bridge. We can't change history. We're moving forward. Great news. Not only is that because no matter what, AI is going to be a part of our lives moving forward, whether you like it or not. That's just in the cards. So we might as well have the best and the brightest working on our team And you don't get much better than Elon Musk. I'm working on these tech issues. So more great news coming forth for us on that. We're one of the biggest things going on. And we did. The report came out that the LA County supervisors produced or, tried to shuffle off, pin the blame on the Palisades and Altadena fires. And to quote Catherine Barger, the LA County supervisor, the only halfway partially sane one of the other four or her other four lady colleagues up there are just complete psycho chick nutcases. And you know what? This is why LA's in. And she said, so there was a systemic failure across the board. Well, that's all you really needed to know. When are you that's a sign we should burn the government, not literally, figuratively. We should dismantle the government from the lowest sewer cleaning commission in the United States to the federal government. We need to tear it down and rebuild it. There's so much graft and corruption. It's getting to the point where, okay, we just can't, the infrastructure, the COMEY update, the FBI has been corrupt for seems like hundreds of years, and they haven't been around for hundreds of years. But it's just like I said, you ladies, you think Gavin Newsom is so dreamy. Oh, we're going to vote for him. We don't care that. He's made California #1 in vagrants, #1 in poverty, #1 in addiction, in gas prices, in income tax, #1 in gas taxes, #1 in budget deficits, #1 in retail theft. It just had a big, another $1 million smash and grab, I think, up in San Jose. Maybe we'll get to that tomorrow. #1 in citizens exodus, which means people are bailing California by the droves. #1 in COVID mandates, school closures, business closures, illegal immigration, funding illegal migration, in illiteracy, in wage stagnation. #1 in frivolous lawsuits, worker restrictions, anti-business regulations, and the list goes on. And he's out there ginning up, was on there with Colbert. Oh, we got to do them ice agents. You gave $34 million to Churla, and now they're doing that. Now they got vans are going to go what? They're going to have, big microphone bullhorns going around all over. Oh, the boogeyman's coming. And then we have this clown who's shooting at ICE agents. And what did they do? They actually killed one illegal alien that was being detained and severely wounded 2 others. And it's jackasses like this that have been perpetuating that. Perpetuating the 2 assassination attempts on Trump, and the one successful one, unfortunately, for Charlie Kirk. Here's more from this goofball.
I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that in the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red, what's happening in this country, and we wake up soberly to how serious this moment is.
Of course, the tards are over there just cheering him on in the code, the 3 that are in the audience. This is the same as a Hitler or dictator. What is first thing they do? Eliminate the elections, or you get a Hugo Chavez deal where he was leading by 147% and won by like 123. And again, like we asked the question, if you don't think there's election, why the hell are you running for president in 28? If Trump's going to appoint himself, then why are you wasting your time? You know damn well you're lying like you do practically every day, every second, 24/7, 365. Unbelievable that we put up or we tolerate this whole instance. This is Nancy Larson. She's the acting U.S. attorney speaking on the shooter of the attempted assassinations of ICE agents, which wound up being assassinations of illegal immigrants. Here we go.
He hoped his actions would terrorize ICE employees and interfere with their work, which he called human trafficking. And this, what he did, is the very definition of terrorism. Again, his notes reveal, yes, it was just me and my brain. And he said, good luck with the digital footprint. And of course, we take this to mean that he deleted evidence from.
So we know we have another fruitcake out there that was funded by the Biden administration, the Newsom administration, whether it be NGOs, Catholic charities, Churla, and the whole freaking crew. And they created this environment. Churla, what they could, they're just the boogeyman's out there, and he passed a mask thing, which is totally unconstitutional. Talk about Hitler, Mr. Newsom. That's what Hitler would have done. I don't care what the law is. I'm just going to do that. So you're putting the ICE agents at risk because what? Threats against them are up 1,000% over the Biden administration. You know exactly what you're doing. You're trying to create the chaos, create a crisis where one doesn't exist and walk in with a solution. Hegel's. Here's Marcus Charles of Enforcement and Removal Operations. Here we go.
The shooter used the ICE tracking apps. Anyone who creates or distributes these apps that is designed to spot, track, and locate ICE officers are well aware of the dangers that they are exposing to law enforcement. It's a casting call to invite bad actors to attack law enforcement officers. It's no different than giving a hitman the location of their intended target, and this is exactly what we saw happen in Dallas yesterday.
So, okay. The crime syndicate, Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate, Joanna Levia, and Superintendent the Roof. You had Churla up there. Oh, the boogeyman, the ICE, don't say anything. Oh, if you get on the apps and tell where they're at, weren't you doing exactly this to get people killed? Taking money from us, the force of a gun, and then creating the chaos and distrust in law enforcement and putting their lives at risk and continuing to do it. You guys are on the record. Livia, you going to go up there on the school board and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. You actually shouldn't do that. We should all be working together, and you should be up there at the crime syndicate, and Newsom should be saying like what should be said. If you're in this country legally and lawfully, you don't have anything to worry about. And if somebody is persecuting that, let me know. I'll be the first one to take up their case. And of course, everyone's going to make mistakes. There's a few bad apples in law enforcement and everything else, and we'll clean them out. But if you're following the law, the policies, and the mandates by Congress of the United States of America, then you've got no problem. You shouldn't be helping people circumvent the law because this is what's going to happen.
The media has been amplifying these apps even as we warned them it would only lead to more attacks on law enforcement. We truly wish we didn't have to say, "I told you so," but here we are. ICE continues to prioritize the safety and security of our personnel, detained aliens, and facilities.
So like that, they've used the media, the mockingbird, stupid media, corrupt media. They've used every tool they can to create this chaos and instill fear in you. There's not a positive message in that to go, turn in the cops because they're coming to enforce the law. Right here in the Inland Empire. Security ramped up at an ICE facility in San Bernardino County, Atlanta, after deadly Texas shooting. Holy cow.
The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office is beefing up security at the ICE processing center in Atlanta.
Let's go to Rachel Aragon this morning live with what exactly is happening there. Rachel.
Yeah, good morning. The Sheriff Department right here telling us they're now upping their patrols in and around the ICE processing center in Adelanto. They also tell us they're now working closely with federal partners to make sure everyone is safe and to monitor any potential threats.
So because of their actions, Joanne Olivia, Elena Baca Santa Cruz, Extian Gutierrez, Jose Medina, Victor Manuel Perez, Chuck Washington, and a whole Baby Jesus, Ulysses Cabrera, Erling Gonzalez, with an assist from Shea. And I could go on and on and on. Now, sheriff deputies are having to take law enforcement officers from getting the vagrants off our street and doing that, or if we have an emergency, now they got to go try and protect the ICE officers because you have created this situation. You're instilling fear in everyone. You're not making the case better. And I'll even hold out hope, and you will prove my case if you will. Because if you're not about installing fear, you'll say, hey, let's call a truce. El Grito, they're not coming in and raiding everybody at El Grito. They're not rolling into the schools and rounding people up, but they were looking for kids, 500,000 of them that were missing or they were unaccounted for and probably being labor and sex trafficked, a lot of them. And you got the LA guy down here and you got over here around trying to protect the frickin' criminals. Abusing the ones we should be protecting the most, our children. If you care about your children and other people's and all children, then let's get on the same frickin' page and stop the nonsense. Or do you want to see more people killed? Either directly or indirectly, because more people are going to be died, injured. Some vagrant could be thumping on you and there's no cop available because he's trying to take care of the ICE deal up there in Atlanta. That's the reality of the situation. Sometimes you cannot believe it. Or it really wants to, your head really does want to explode. And it's up to us to fix this stuff. We're not going to do it. They're not going to get a commission or a Judge McChrystal or whatever to fix it. That's just a delaying tactic to see if they can push it off far enough that something else will happen, take your attention off it. They haven't fixed one damn thing with the LA fires or the immigration or anything. They've resisted trying to make the United States of America an even grander country than it already was. We have an immigration policy. We have that immigration policy, so if you come into this country, you adopt our culture. You learn English. You swear an oath to our Constitution. You adapt our culture, not the culture of Mexico or Uganda or Russia or China or anywhere else. No, we've looked at that and we don't want to live in a hellhole. Got it? Do I need to simplify it anymore for you guys? And again, please, Elena Baca Santa Cruz, Joanna Olivia, Extian Gutierrez, David Laratellis, Baby Jesus, Erlen Gonzalez, Shay. Any of you, please come in here. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. We'll take all the time you need. See if you can outlast the 6th grade educated ditch bank Okie from Edgemont. Want to get to this one before we bail out. Not that some of us didn't predict this, but this just shows you cannot beat the free market, and you cannot, because the free market will tell you what people like, dislike, what they want, what they don't want. Here it is. The slow death of the self-checkout. And set aside all the, the obvious theft and all that. It's like everything. It's like the magician. Don't look at him when he's waving the right hand. He's distracting you. Look at what his left hand is doing, because that's where he's pulling the trick. Just like with this. You know what? People don't like the self-checkout. And and the reason why. It may be in an instance or two, but they're finding out now you most likely, compared to what it was before the self-checkout, overall, you're going to get out of the store and it's going to take you more time to check out your groceries than when it was all, you put them in there, the checker checked them, you paid for them, and out the door you went. As we said, the free market works. And it works fabulously. It works without question. You may be able to distort it for a while. You may be able to work around it. But eventually it wins. It's a natural law. People are going to do what they like. They're going to gravitate to what they like. They're going to tell you, whether they tell you directly or through their actions, what they prefer and what they don't prefer. And it goes to the same thing. We'll get into it maybe a little bit more tomorrow. But NASCAR, once the biggest racing series for about 20 or 30 years in the last 20 or 30 years in the United States. It's done all sorts of crazy things to run the fan base off, and the TV ratings are half of what they were 10 years ago, and on and on and on. Now they're talking about going back to the old point system like it was before. And Herman, the great Kenny Wallace, he put on, well, why do you think this is? He's got a pretty good following on X and YouTube and Facebook and all that. And I said, it's 'cause. He says, well, why is everybody talking about the good old days and that, not the current drivers and stuff? Because the base of NASCAR relates to the old drivers and cars. They don't relate to this new stuff. The free market is talking. NASCAR, after 10 years or 15 or 20 years, is finally listening because it's affecting their pocketbook. hopefully we'll get into that more in depth, of that report that came out, I believe in the New York Times or something, one of the big papers of that. Geez, give the people what they want, and they gladly will come. Not build it and they will come. Give them what they want. The free market wins every stinking time. We'll have to get the great Milton Friedman and some of the other, Thomas Sowell, who understood this concept. And I don't know why we cannot get to the point of where we understand, there's just, what was it? You just can't fool Mother Nature. And in the end, you can't. You're not going to fool Mother Nature. She has a perfect 111% record. Catch a few locale stories on that. Paris cops book 'em Dano found a felon with a gun on a routine traffic stop, as they say. It's a good job, Paris cops. Oh, first Inland Empire Ojosos Locos Sports Cantina coming to San Bernardino, and San Bernardino needs all the help it can get. So hopefully it's a successful venture for all those who enjoy the sports cantina. Well, entertainment for that. Free market works. They did arrest a suspect up in Hesperia in that very gruesome hit and run in Redlands. It's a good job, Redlands cops. On the local front, it was fairly, or at least I didn't. Maybe I missed everything. You can almost count on Thursday's your biggest news day. There will be all kinds of stuff coming in on Thursday, which there was nationally. Seemed like the locals, other than LA, but it seemed like the local was kind of, usually, typically, you can go on Thursday's always the biggest. Maybe all the crazies come out. People were trying to get everything done because they want to get out early on Friday to go do whatever on the weekend. A lot of factors in it, but that's kind of unusual, at least on the local genre. We did get up, get after it, and you might think I'm hammering on the local politicians and stuff, and sometimes they cringe when I do that. Let's come in and talk about it. We're not going to get to a solution, or we're not. If you don't want to hear the stories like Charlie Kirk or the ice deal down in Texas, or why LA burnt when it shouldn't have, we got to talk about it, or else we'll never get anywhere. Take it away, Jesse. That'll do it for today.
All right, I will talk to you later.
You got it.